Hey guys, this is Franklin Walker, and I wanted to talk about the current state of the world economy. And things are actually much more dangerous than you think, much more dangerous than you can anticipate, and it's time to get your money in a safe location. I wanted to read to you something from an article from Reuters from 2006. It was talking about Damascus. Syria has switched all of its state's foreign currency transactions to euros from dollars amid a political confrontation with the United States. The head of state-owned Commercial Bank of Syria said on Monday, "This is a precaution. We're talking about billions of dollars," Duray Durham told Reuters. The bank, which still dominates the Syrian market, although private banks have been allowed to set up the last few years, has also stopped dealing with dollars in the international foreign exchange flows of private clients. We know we've seen this before in Saddam Hussein when he stopped selling oil in the petrodollar. You must understand, in the 70s, when America switched over in an agreement with Saudi Arabia to only trade oil in dollars, there was a system that was set up, a league of oil-producing nations, and since then we see that as the House of Saud is weakening, as the production of oil throughout the entire Middle East is increasing, we see members like Saddam Hussein begin to stop selling oil in the dollar, Russia to end trade between themselves and other large countries in the dollar, and Syria, also pipelines that have gone through there. You must realize that this war that they say is going on, how that they must go and fight for human rights in Syria, even though we see that the government has really no care for the rights of the people that are in this country. We see them evaporating little by little, and they call it a war on terror. That he used chemical weapons on his own people, and that's the reason they're there. They're fighting for the survival of the US dollar. You see, we have this fiat currency, which is not supported or backed by any actual wealth. We have a fiat currency that is only supported by the faith in the United States government. It's only supported by the weight of the United States military. An agreement between the major oil producer at the time that oil would only be sold in dollars. So when nations begin to stop trade of oil in the US dollar, something has to be done. Because if they all were to begin to not trade in the US dollar, not being backed by any solid structure, that means the value could change dramatically in a small amount of time, overnight. With the amount of US dollars that have been printed in the recent quantitative easing 1, 2, and 3, these countries understand that the value of their currency is becoming less and less, and the amount of the exchange rate they need to pay in order to trade in other currencies, it is absolutely a devastating thing to the United States. If these countries are allowed to stop trading oil in dollars, they're forced to buy their dollars, hold their dollars in reserve. At the end of a barrel of a gun, and at the breaking of a door by the boots of the United States military men, to trade in this currency that they're not happy with, when there's been very little force. Of those who have risen up against it, who have dared to stand against it, there's been very little force. The United States had conquered Iraq in all but 48 hours. They dismantled their entire defense system, their militaries, and they rode right through the center of town. The rest of it went on for some time, but they had already eliminated its leader. As well as these other countries, we see Libya wanted to establish a world currency backed by gold for the entire America. And in the words of some of our leaders, we came, we saw, he died. You think things are going to change? No, this is a battle for the survival of the United States dollar. That's the dollar. That's why they're there. Why do you think they're there? Why do you think it's so necessary to get into a war which could end humanity? Thermonuclear war with a major world power. What do you think? We're just going to ride through there in our little line of tanks? A country with missile defense systems, there's no shock and awe. A country with thermonuclear weapons, they don't even need to beat us. Understand? They don't need to beat us. The war in Syria, they're there defending the country. It's already started. It's like there's a bully in the middle of a group. And most of the time he doesn't need to fight because everyone fears him. But the moment they see someone stand up against that bully, all the rest of the people who've been kicked down and taken advantage of begin to think this may be our only chance. That we might be free from the oppression of this bully that's been taking our lunch money all these years. All it takes is for someone to put up a good fight. And you will see one by one these countries that have been unable to get out, fear to get out. That war in Iraq was a shot heard round the world that oil is sold in nothing but the dollar. The world knows it. The only people that don't know it are the people in this country. The world knows that it needed to happen. They all know that's why they're angry, that's why they're upset. And all it takes is for these finances that have flowed out of this country into other countries like China, Russia, to begin trading amongst themselves, to develop their own currency backed by gold. The same thing we migrated around. And if we lose the petrodollar status overnight, your currency will become nothing. No, you need to take permanent steps to reinforce the security of your family. We are hearing things all in the news about how the U.S. government needs to have the CIA start developing ways to perform cyber attacks to shut down the infrastructure of other sovereign countries. Do you know what happens if that were to happen in your own country? We need to prepare food, water, home defense for your family. And you need to get your currency while you can. Every bit you can put away to convert it out of the US dollar into something solid, into something real, into gold, into silver, into something that will survive the collapse, because it is coming. Sooner or later, the world's not going to listen to... There's no real good reason that we're there. And the world knows that. The people know that. Sooner or later, excuses about terror are not going to work. And that means they're going to need a reason. And it's coming. Because they can't just give up. They can't just give up Aleppo. They can't just give up Syria after all of the hundreds of millions of dollars invested into the conquering of this country. They're not going to give it up. And Russia can't turn their back. Their main export port for their oil pipeline, the ending of their oil pipeline from which all of their petroleum flows. Think they're just going to give it up? This is a battle to the death, with 2 wounded dogs. It's much more serious than you think. While the world is busy catching their latest shows coming on TV, trying to see who's the next American Idol, next top model, they're distracted by so many things and listening to this political charade of debates going on while they select your next leader. And you think it will change? This is what they call, ladies and gentlemen, the shot heard round the world in a righteous and noble cause. We've lost the upper hand, the moral high ground when the United States used to go to war for freedom, for rights, for the betterment of people. It's never been what it's about. It's about money. And you need to make steps because it's coming. It's coming. And it can happen faster than you think. So it's time now to prepare, to get yourselves ready into real currency, into real money, while you still have your 401ks. The manufacturing is gone. There's no more production here. The only survival, the GDP, is dependent upon the world using the US dollar. That is its strength, not gold, but oil. It would be a currency meltdown overnight, and it would plunge the world into darkness. You will go from having retirements and vacations to standing in bread lines, just worse than the Great Depression, because where will the government get the bread? You don't have gold anymore. It's gone. They traded it out for backing by petroleum, and when that's gone, you will have valueless paper at any price. Metals or a steel at this point. Just being able to gain physical gold and physical silver in your hands is necessary. Not only a good investment. All right. But thank you guys for joining me. This is Franklin Walker. Be safe. Be prepared.